It is.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Judges, welcome. We're very excited. 2025 New South Wales Tourism Awards, no pressure. Second year round, we should be. We're pros at this now. There's lots of familiar faces here. New judges, people that we recognise. Just thank you all for being here, and you've all had some involvement, whether you've been a judge before or been involved. You can see Ash from Regional North Coast. Hannah from Rimbula. So there's lots of I can see my bestie online too, just a little bit of you know about me. But thank you for being here. We're very excited about this year's awards. We've got longer to plan, which is feels like a bit like a bonus, and we're very happy to have you all in the room. Just to give you a little bit of an intro, I'm going to talk for a little bit because it's really all about what's going on, but a little bit about New South Wales Tourism Association. If you don't already know, we are the Tourism Industry Council. Sarah's going to flip to the new slide and
Okay.
remind me that I haven't acknowledged country. So first thing I might do is acknowledge the lands that we all meet, which is all different. For me, I'm in Yuin country on the far south coast, so I'd like to acknowledge our traditional elders and past, present, and emerging, and for all the lands that you guys are on. New South Wales Tourism Association, as I mentioned before, we are your state tourism industry council. So we're member owned, member operated. We are the voice of the industry. We're here to advocate and to agitate, sometimes both at the same time, sometimes separately. Importantly, we're independent and we are spread across New South Wales, and we're here entirely because of our operators, because of the tourism industry, and we're here because we love it. A bit about our team. I'm not sure if we've got Dom online, but Sarah Kersmith is Program Manager Awards, and Domino Holbrook Cove is Program Manager Accreditation, and we're all spread out. Dom is up in sunny but snowing Oberon. Sarah's on the Central Coast, and I am on the far south coast of New South Wales. You guys are part of our team now too, so you're all spread across the state. We have work like more hours in the day than there are, but we do it because we love it. We also, of course, have a board of directors. Some of you may be aware of the Honourable Stuart Ayres, used to be Tourism Minister. He's our chair. And then we have some incredible board members on who are there. Laurie, I'm just going to call out Laurie because Laurie's also a judge, and she's our founder, and she's pretty much everything to everyone. Laurie, isn't that true? CEO of Outdoors New South Wales.
Yes.
Yes, she's shaking her head, but we know that's the case. None of us would be here right now if it wasn't for Laurie. So we have an incredible board of directors who are all very informative and we're very grateful to have them on board. And then we have got our judges committee. Ron, led by the amazing Ron Bildman, chair of judges. You'll get to talk to Ron today. Margaret Shannon, Laurie. Also, see, Laurie's like the star of the show, and Lisa, who's also with us today. They put a lot of work into this process, and they're in addition to Sarah, the oracle. So ask questions constantly. I'm sure they won't mind at all, and they're here for this judges briefing and all throughout the process to hold your hand. And of course, last but definitely not least from me is the judging team. And there you are. Your name is somewhere in there. We're very, very grateful for your time and effort going. Judging is a big process. The awards entry is a big process. And as I said at the regional awards on the North Coast last week, well done, Ash and the team, for they were great, was that they're hard. Somebody said to me, I really can't wait for the question where you ask for our firstborn child. And that's pretty much the view of how hard it is to enter the awards. It is easier. It has been streamlined since last year, but it shouldn't be easy. And maybe this is not a participation prize. We're not giving everybody a ribbon just for being great. This is about excellence. So it is hard. It's meant to be robust. It's meant to be part of the process, and that's why we've handpicked you all as judges. Because we know that you get it and that you're going to look at it from that perspective. So that's enough from me. I will be here. I'm going to hand over to the amazing Sarah and the judging team. Thanks.
Thanks, Nat. Yeah, just wanted to say hi to you all again. Some familiar faces coming back. We've got some people that haven't judged for a while who've come back. So, we've got some new judges as well. So, just want to welcome everyone in this next chapter over the next few months when we'll be working together. So I'm just going to talk you through the judging process and sort of the expectations around that, and a bit of the formula and the framework. Now, look, this is a big process. So I know we've got a number of returning judges here, but we do have those new judges as well. Now, we do, in past years, we've actually done two separate briefings. We've done one for new judges and one for returning judges. That's because there's, obviously duplication when you do it year to year. But there's actually been quite a bit of change this year. So I wanted everyone to be in together in this one judges briefing. Now, I'm also going to make the most of our weekly judges support sessions over the next few weeks, just to go through things in a little bit more detail. If we go through everything in detail now, it's just going to be too much to take in. So we're going to give an overview now, and then week by week, we'll respond to things, the stage that you're at and the questions that you come to, and we'll be able to drill down into particular sections as we get to them. So just to start looking at those key dates, so of our judges briefing today. Now, those of you that offered to participate in the digital review and the business verification judges, there's an additional briefing for you guys next week, next Thursday. That will also be recorded. So if after today you think, oh yeah, I think I would like to be involved in those additional tasks as well, just let me know, and then we can get you into that briefing for next week as well. Now, entrants are very, very busy right now, which also equals me being very, very busy right now. Draft reviews are due this week. So we've got heaps of draft reviews flooding in every day at the moment, because final submissions close on the 20th of August. So we're sort of in that countdown now with those last 2 weeks before submissions are due. So that's what the entrants are doing. Once submissions close, that's when I start looking at assigning categories, and you've all come back to me with your conflict of interest and your confidentiality statements. So I will be assigning categories to you based on that. Ready for our judging to commence on Friday, the 29th of August. So you've got a 4-week period to do that judging. And each week during that period, we're going to run a judges check-in. Now, it's optional, a Zoom optional session. We'll do a bit of meet and greet in there as well. We'll put you into random rooms and you get to meet each other, because we know that networking is a really important part of this process for you as well. We will not be putting you in rooms with your teams, as I'll discuss in a moment, but you will all be judging independently. But, it's great for you to get to know and connect with other judges in this process as well. So we like to set you goals to work through your categories that you've been allocated. So we'd like to see, half of your submissions done by that sort of halfway point, which is in our week 2 around the 16th of September. So you've got until the 26th of September to finish your judging. And then we have the judges' deliberation days on the 1st and 2nd of October. Now, as we get closer to the time, I will be allocating you a time slot across those 2 days. You're not required for the full 2 days. You'll be required for, if you can sort of think about half a day, perhaps allocating half a day over that 2-day period, but I will let you know which part of the day that will be as we get closer. Now, if you have offered to be a lead judge, so some of our more experienced judges take on this role of a lead judge, that is to do with the consolidation of feedback at the end of that process. So your deadline for that will be the 8th of October. Then 14th of October is when we announce our finalists. And don't forget the important date, 27th of November, for our New South Wales Tourism Awards Gala Night, which of course you will be invited to as our VIP guests. And this year it's going to be at the Waterview in Bicentennial Park out at Sydney Olympic Park. Beautiful venue, and it's going to be transformed by our night there. So very exciting times over the next few months putting that into place. So save the date. Plenty of time to work out your outfit. All right, so the 2025 Tourism Awards program, 229 nominations received this year. So we beat last year's nominations as well. That's over 30 categories. We have completed a series of 9 entrance support webinars. We've done 60 draft reviews so far, and they are still coming. And we have 52 judges recruited. So that's where we're up to with the program so far. It's growing year on year. So as I mentioned, there are some changes for 2025. So we have new questions and new format from last year. Now it does follow the same formula, following, the business, product development, customer service, marketing, environmental, sustainable question as well. So it's the same formula, but the actual questions are now in a pro forma template. So it's not just large free text boxes as it was previously. It's actually quite structured. So it means we're very specifically requesting information to ensure that we get more of an even playing field and that we do get the required information out of each question. We also have a reduced word count. So based on this new formula, there's sort of less free text sections. So that word count has been dropped down to a maximum of 7,500 and also a minimum of 4,000. There's also a final remarks section at the end, which just allows for a wrap-up comment. Anything additional, any comments, any sort of connection to the judges or last sort of bit of passion piece that they want to put in. It's not scored, but it's just a nice way for them to end the submission with a sort of a personalized note to us. Then there is also a sustainable and responsible tourism section that allocates the marks according to what accreditations they hold. Now that's accreditations both through the Quality Tourism Framework and externally as well. They're also accommodated. So that's another section. I'll talk you through that in a bit more detail, probably focus on that a bit more in our judges check-in sessions. Now, this year we have also had the North Coast Regional Tourism Awards program, which has provided a pathway into our New South Wales Tourism Awards. So all the entrants from the North Coast Regional Tourism Awards, it was only last week, which was fantastic night up in Byron. All of those entrants have that automatic continuation into the New South Wales Tourism Awards. They're not bringing their placings with them, so it comes back to a level playing field, but they get that opportunity to progress from here. So that's a really exciting addition for this year. Another thing that's new for this year is based on feedback and industry demand. We've actually split the tourism wineries and tourism distilleries and breweries categories into two separate categories. It at a national level, that is one category. But yeah, we received feedback that they'd like to see that as two separate categories. Now, what we're doing in New South Wales is they will be judged as two separate categories, but there will only be one gold winner that progresses through to national level out of that. So it will be whichever winner, either from the wineries or the distilleries and breweries category, that has the highest marks. That will be the one that goes forward to the national level. Also for this year, we have recruited a couple of helpers in a sort of a judges support role. And they are going to assist us on deliberation day with that large task of consolidating the feedback. So we'll talk again a little bit more about that as we get closer to the time, but that's what we've got new for this year. So quite a few new things to accommodate. At its heart, the New South Wales Tourism Awards program is a business development program, and it's about encouraging businesses to celebrate their achievements and create that sort of continuous improvement and look at their business benchmarks and provide that framework for businesses to move forward and continue and improve. So, it's about collectively raising industry standards and maintaining those industry quality standards together. And we do that by providing pathways through accreditation, through benchmarking, and of course through our thorough judging process and our auditing process as well. So there's lots of reasons why entrants participate in the Tourism Awards, more than just sort of getting that recognition and that credibility. It's actually, the depth of the program and the support that we offer is, a lot of businesses use that as a chance to review their business year on year. And this is where you guys come into play. The judges' feedback, the feedback that you provide at every step of this process is really, really valuable. is really, really valuable to those entrants. And, the value that they get back from their one entry fee, from the feedback that they're getting from at least 3 industry experts, that's you guys, helping, contributing to their submission for that continuous improvement and improvement for next year and beyond. So yeah, so just sort of thinking about that big picture of the awards, why people do it, and what your role is in that process as well. So for the tourism awards, we have a qualifying period. So everything that is acknowledged and written about in the submission should be around activities, achievements, and innovations that have occurred in that qualifying period. So we're talking about last financial year. So 1st of July 2024 to 30th of June 2025. We've mentioned the word count, and I will go on to talk about the different aspects of that as well. Now, the rules and regulations, you can find it on our website. I won't take you there now, but have a look through that. It will also be in our judges portal for you as well. So you just might want to familiarize with some of that. Now, where to start? Now, all of the awards judging takes place in the Quality Tourism Framework Awards portal. So anyone who's judged before, you've already got your logins, you know how all that works. But any new judges, I'll set you up with an account, and you'll go into the portal and you'll click on the judge admin. And when you open it up, you'll see a dashboard, and on the dashboard will be the entrants that you need to assess. So all of those instructions will be sent through to you in more detail when I've got you set up in this portal for those new judges. Now, in addition to that, we have a judges resource hub, and that's where we're going to store all of the resources that you need. So we've got a huge amount of resource to support you through the process. Again, this is something we will set you up. You will receive an email that will give you a link to this portal with your login and password access. So just know that during this process, you're going to be working across 2 portals. One is for the actual judging, that's the QTF portal, the green one, and then the New South Wales Tourism Awards Judges Hub is the blue one, the cultural one. So yeah, you'll find a lot of information in that. All right, so just to talk you through the judging process. So there are 4 parts to the submission. So we've got the award submission, which is what you'll be reviewing in the portal, which is the responses to those 5 key question areas with that 7,500 words maximum. In addition to that, we've got the consumer rating, which we do behind the scenes. We work that out through Review Pro. That's worth 20%. And then the online review, or the digital review, which is where the online presence gets reviewed, and the business verification meeting. Now, in New South Wales, this business verification meeting is not scored. Now, if you remember when you filled in your judges confirmation survey, I asked for anyone who is interested in taking on the digital review and business verification meetings as additional responsibilities. So it's not assumed that you'll do those. It's assumed that you'll do the award submission, judging, but the digital review and the verification is additional. So if you'd like to get involved in those as well, just let me know and I can add you to that one as well. Oh, did it just go too far? It did. Okay, so you'll be judging in a team, and in that team, you're going to have 3 judges reading the submissions. There's going to be another judge that does the business verification and another judge that does the digital review. So we're going to have up to 5 judges that looks at each entrant, but you will all be working independently. So you need to read, score, and provide your very own feedback. There's no collaboration with other judges at this point. You're not to be discussing outcomes prior to that deliberation day. And the outcome of each category and also of the feedback is audited as well. So we'll talk you a little bit about that internal audit process in a moment. And then we all come together for that deliberation day. So that's where you discuss with your team, you finalize your entrant feedback, you endorse the results for those top 3 preferred placements. Now, something really important to add is even at the end of your deliberation session, you will come out with the top three. And we ask you to come out with the top three because it may not necessarily be the final gold, silver, bronze placings. And that's because you are only assessing the submission at that point. So after those top three placings have been decided, we then add on afterwards the digital review score and the consumer score as well. So I'm pretty sure I've got everyone's confidentiality agreement and conflict of interest. If by any chance you haven't sent it to me already, please do so as soon as you can. If you haven't been able to attend this live, then please come along to our judges Q&A sessions every week, because we can obviously help you with any specific questions and where you're up to. You will be required to, I'll be allocating you at least one category, and it depends on how many we've got in each category as to how many categories I will give you. And then you're expected to do that constructive feedback. So Ron's going to talk to you a bit more about the type of feedback that you'll be required to do. Now, with the scoring, we have got a scoring guidance matrix that can help you, and that's also in the judges' guides. So there's lots of guides out there to help you through this process. But we do have our standards, and in order to reach a bronze or to be a finalist status, you need to really hit that 60% mark. So we look at 60% and up is where they start becoming a finalist and placing from up there. We also have the option to have a highly commended, and we also acknowledge tourism stars. So within your category, if you feel that you have some that perhaps haven't made it in that top three, but we want to give them a highly commended or even a tourism star for those particular businesses that show real resilience and outstanding innovation, we are able to allocate a tourism star award as well. That's not one per category. There's only a few through the whole program. So we're just looking for those real shining stars. So in the Judges Resource Hub, we're going to have the recording for this session, and I'll upload the slides for it as well if there's anything you want to check back on. The Judges Manual, there's Judges category guides with a lot of detail around how to mark and what the expectations are. So please do use that when you're marking. It's really going to be a strong guidance for you. Rules and regulations, checklists for the business verification, and the digital review guide as well. We'll also put in there the login and the user guide for the awards portal. Now, do we still have Lisa with us? I can't see on the list. Lisa, are you still here? No, she was going to have to duck away from the meeting. Ron, I'm wondering, could you perhaps talk a little bit about our auditing process?
Yes, I will. And Lisa had notified that she was in other meetings, and if we got to this stage, I would take this over. We have a little team that does nothing else but looks at the format of the judges judging, and what they will look for is any anomalies. In other words, you'll all find between the three of you that some of you are quite conservative in your marking. Others are very, in other words, reward quite highly. And as long as that process, as long as that format stays the same, so that we can see from the audit group can see that there isn't an anomaly. And that's done because quite often we've had issues where someone's made a mistake and wanted to put in, let's say 8, but it ended up by being a 3. And as a result, that skews the result. So what happens here is the audit group will be looking at each of the entrants, and obviously the three judges' work that you've done through there. And this is not checking up. This is just making sure that at the end we've got what you probably intended to do, but because of, let's say, for example, a small issue, we've ended up with an inconsistent sort of scoring situation. What will happen when that happens? It'll just be brought up at the meeting that we have when we sit down and we decide who's going to be finalists and who's going to be the gold, silver, and bronze recipients of the awards. So it's happening behind the scenes, but it's a very important process because we've often had situations where in other words, it's made a difference to who could have been successful and who otherwise wouldn't have been. So it's a robust process, but as I said, it'll happen once you've finished your judging and before we actually get to the actual 2 days where we sit down and we make our decisions.
Yeah. Thanks, Ron. We just to note, we also have an external auditor as well. So that's more on the process and the deliberations. So you'll get to meet the external auditor on the deliberation day. That's a little bit further down the track. So just quickly, the images. So entrants are allowed to upload up to 30 images with a caption, with up to a 10-word caption. And those images are uploaded into the pro forma template. So they're not sort of inserted into text boxes. There's an actual section for them to upload them now. With the images, it's really important that images support what is written in the question rather than adding anything new within that image. So infographics are fine, charts, graphs, pictures, even endorsements, excerpts from letters or something like that is fine, but it must only support what has already been written about. So the word count we've mentioned, but if you are doing the accessible tourism category, there's only 2,000 words word count for that one. So that's a bit lower. Okay, so this allocation of marks, I won't talk you through it, but just to show you that we do have that, and that will be there to sort of help you have a look at, the weighting of the different questions and the sections as well. So you'll have this in your judge's guide, but it's quite good to see it as an overview as well. Okay, so the digital review. So I know not everyone will be doing the digital review, but in case you think you'd like to take that on, that is a component of the judging. And this is where a judge will look specifically at the online presence of the business. So they're looking at the website, how accessible the content is, the social media, the search engine optimization, any external listing sources, and also look at engagements in the online review space as well. And also looking at how well the entrants promote not only their own product, but the region around them as well. So those of you who are doing that, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail, but that's what involved with the digital reviews. Now, the business verifications meeting, now they are conducted online, and this is about verifying the business. So the business, the person who's allocated the business verification meeting won't have already seen the award submission. So this is about connecting with the business. So, it's about quality assurance, it's about checking compliance documents and meeting the entrants personally and providing encouragement and support, and also being that ambassador for the awards program. Now, not all entrants have a business verification meeting. So it's mostly new entrants and businesses who aren't accredited. And we're on a cycle of business verification visits. Every 2 years, we try and have that or face-to-face online meeting with our entrants, just to sort of really keep them engaged and give them as much value as we can. It's an opportunity, another sort of business development mentoring type opportunity that can be had as well. So the submission questions, again, I won't go into this in detail, but just to show you, because this is the new formula, you'll see it's similar. The topics are still very, very similar, the same topics, but the way that the questions are presented are quite different. Now, these will be, first of all, we've got them on our website if you wanted to have a look now, but secondly, the specifics of this is going to be in your judge's guide for each category, which is in that Judges Resource Hub. So a lot of these questions are looking at achievements and improvements that have been done in the last 12 months. So it does start with that overview of the business, and then it goes on to your business and product development. And in most cases, the first question is asking for sort of an overview of your improvements. Then you're asked to provide examples, and this is where the pro forma templates come in. So there's sort of a particular box that comes up for each examples, and they can put in up to 5 examples with a minimum of 3 for this particular question. Then they're asked to upload visual evidence to support your answer. So you'll see it's a similar formula. So excellence in marketing, give us an overview of your target markets, provide us with visual evidence, provide 3 to 5 examples of strategies that you've implemented during the qualifying period and their outcomes. And then customer service, same sort of thing from there as well. Now in section 5, the excellence in sustainable and responsible business practices, this one has an additional section. So I've actually got that on the next slide. So there is, at the start of that question, there is this sustainable and responsible business practice which relates to their achievements in accreditation. Now this box is going to be largely automated, but where a business has undertaken an emissions review, they're asked to put in a link on their website for us to see it, or a link to that report. Same thing for an accessibility. How do they, if they don't currently hold an accessible tourism program accreditation, they still have the option to give us a link to where they have an accessible guide on their own website, so they can still earn marks for that. So this will be automated, with the exception of you may see links inserted. If there's web links inserted, you need to go in and have a look, and then have a look at their emissions and then sort of verify that yes, they've got it, and yes, you can tick yes for that. So that's something new for this year as well. I'll go into this in a bit more detail when we've got a bit more time in our first session after judging opens. All right, I might hand over to Ron now for some judging tips. Ron, we also have Ian and Karina in the room who are both happy to share any judging tips as well. So feel free to bring them in.
I'm also very conscious of time. There's going to be a lot. Ian, are you about at the moment? You want to start?
I am, Ron.
Okay, would you like to do the first little bit, and then
I'm happy to do that.
A couple of and then we'll let Karina do some, and I'll talk a little bit about feedback when we get to that stage, which is so important.
I think my judging tips come from doing quite a number of draft reviews already, and I've got a whole lot more in my inbox to do. Happy to help that. So I guess this is just some feedback that I've observed from the draft reviews that I've done, which might be tips for all of us. So I'm still finding that that there's quite a number of generic paragraphs. So these might have been sourced from AI, or if you're in local government, they're in local government speak, or they've been taken from a brochure. So they're quite generic and don't give you any specifics for the judges, so something to be aware of. Again, finding not enough quantification. A lot of my feedback in the reviews have been about quantification. I think the reduced word count has led to a lot more dot points, very short sentences, low explanation. So I guess that's something we need to be aware of. Instead of them explaining something in 2 sentences, they try to do it in a really short sentence, which makes it difficult for the judge to actually understand what they mean, because they're trying to be brief. Sometimes I'm finding it, even the pro formas, they're not answering the question that's in the pro forma, and I don't think they're reading the guidelines, that little blue eye that provides them some guidance. So I'm not sure that they're looking at that. So sometimes I've found that they haven't really always addressed what's in there. And I found this in talking to some operators in Queensland as well, that I think the experienced entrants will struggle to adapt to the pro forma. Particularly, I found the customer service one, the feedback I've got, where it used to talk about your customer service, not initiatives, but expand on your customer service offerings, whereas this one's asking for improvements in customer service. So I feel that, just, I guess, something to be aware of. And just in the portal itself, my final point, Ron, just in the portal itself, I found it a little confusing because for the overall question, there's a slide box on the right-hand side. Then within that, for the pro formas, there is another slide box. where you drag your slide down to move through the answers. And I found that can be a little bit confusing at times. You've got to sort of almost juggle two slides to land on what you want to read. So I guess that's just something to be aware of when you're actually in the portal. So that's about it from me, Ron.
Thank you, Ian. That's terrific. Those are very good points, ladies and gentlemen. Karina, are you about? Anything else you'd like to add?
Yes. Can you hear me, Ron?
Yeah, I can hear you, Karina.
Yeah.
My apologies. I'm in the car at the moment. Yeah, look, I think what Ian raised there was really valuable. And I think for those of us that have been judges before, we're going to be really challenged by the brevity of words. What we're finding is that entrants are using, well, they have to use less words, but it almost feels like they're going too far. So when they're asked to provide, at the opening of each question, they're asked to provide an very brief, to the point where it almost reads like amending at the moment with entrance through the draft view, to still try and provide us with some specifics that can help differentiate from the other entrants that are actually in the category, and encouraging them to provide a little bit more detail. Particularly that first question, which is around an overview to the business. There is some entrants are not providing any understanding of what their product offering is. They only talk about improvements to product offerings in the next question. So I think you may find that in some entrants, it is a little bit of a struggle because we don't have a picture early on of what that business is. Overall, main points of feedback also are about increasing the measurement data to set themselves apart from another entrant. So the quantifiability that Ian mentioned, and where we're also seeing that as a judge, entrants really are running out of steam when it comes to the sustainability question at the end. And I'm not sure whether it's because they're providing documents. So within the portal, they can actually provide different documents that support their initiatives, that are not necessarily something we're going to be spending time looking at. But I'm encouraging entrants to make sure that they provide enough information in there that we can still appreciate the depth of what they're offering. And I just really highlight to those previous judges, it's going to feel very, very different when you are reading the responses. Whilst the content is similar, it is a very, very different judging experience on the portal with the way that the questions have been broken up individually. And I might throw this back to Sarah and Ron also, because one of the things as a judge we're finding is we're having to write a lot of feedback because we're required to write comments after each individual question. So maybe Ron and Sarah, have you got any tips for judges when it comes to writing that feedback? Are you wanting us to write a summary style feedback, or are you wanting us to do a blow by blow?
It depends, Karina. I'm just going to answer. Thank you for your really good sort of summation of some really good tips. In many cases, I would suggest that with a number of entrants, the comments that you're going to make after each of the questions are going to be similar for each of the questions that they've actually answered. So in some cases, a summary may be appropriate. But very importantly, and I'll talk, and I know we're getting to a feedback section in this in a minute or two, and I'll talk about the importance of that. But importantly, what we don't want, and we had conversations yesterday, on Tuesday, with some of the entrants where when they got their feedback, there was only a little bit of feedback. Now, we don't know whether that was the portal, in other words, an issue within the portal. I know Sarah has referred that to, obviously, the IT department. But it is important, and as I said, I'll talk about a little bit more when we get to the feedback, that the entrant understands why they got the mark they did. They won't know what the mark was, but if they weren't successful, they really do need to know why they got to where they were. So importantly, I'd like to just add a few little tips. Ladies and gentlemen, the whole submission should be holistic. In other words, we started with the beginning and they explain who they are, and then through this particular process is what they did and what they got out of it is what we're actually looking for. And I always suggest that, very importantly, when you do the first one, have a read first. Have a good read without actually doing any scoring, so that you get a feel of the whole process. As Ian and Sarah have just said, the portal is a very different feel to what we've been doing for many, many years. So get a good feel of the way the portal is working, and then once you've had a good read, then go back and actually start the actual process of allocating a score. And very importantly, remembering that if you give less than a full mark, then there needs to be a constructive comment, some feedback, so that that literally in the end we're achieving the goal of these awards, which is to improve business in the tourism sector in New South Wales. And obviously the continuous improvement of the entrant is very important, not only to obviously themselves, but also the success of the tourism sector within the state. So that's very important. So enjoy your judging, give yourselves time. I think generally my gut feeling is it's going to take you about at least an hour for each of the entrants. It might take some of you a little bit longer. Don't do it when you're not feeling terrific, because obviously that's, I think, is going to reflect your scoring. But enjoy the process. You're going to be given some wonderful information about what's actually happening in the thing. So in other words, the way I do this is I generally look at someone who's been successful in the awards before and start with that particular entrant. I don't mark them, but I do read it, which gives me some sort of a benchmark. In other words, I then know as I move through this whether the entrants that follow are not as good or better than the one that I've read in the first instance, which I think helps my scoring and my feedback.
Ian, did you want to add something there?
Just 15 seconds worth to support what Karina was saying. I did find that because of that question 1, that there were some new things appearing in question 2 and 3 that hadn't been covered in question 1. And also I agree that it has been taking me longer to mark the draft reviews than it would normally do. So that those extra questions is taking me longer. So just be aware of that in your time allocation. That was all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so guys, what we're looking for very much, and remember, we've had 6 sessions with the entrants where Natalie did fantastic presentation, and so they literally have been given and explained really what you're looking for. So in other words, almost your marking guide. We've actually gone through. So they understand that what we're looking for is obviously what they did, why they did it, and what they got from it, to put it down to brass tacks. Very importantly. Now, we're looking for well-planned business. We're looking for someone who is strategic in what they're doing. And obviously, we're looking for innovation. There's innovation is obviously going to be seen as an improvement. We have told the entrants that have struggled, and there are many in New South Wales that have been impacted by weather issues, that if they were in a situation where they couldn't trade or couldn't trade fully for a period of time, to let the judges know, please take that into consideration. when you're actually marking. So some of them will not have traded for the 365 days because of extenuating circumstances. So very importantly, and I think Ian and Sarah and Karina have already mentioned some of this. If there's stuff missing, then obviously both in the evidence, which is that usually the B section of the answer, those are the images, then literally they are going to lose marks. If they don't answer the question, obviously they're going to lose marks. And very importantly, we're not looking for pure statements. We're looking for evidence of what they've actually done, what they set out to do, what happened, what the results of those were, and how that has impacted their particular business. We have asked them very much the importance of passion, and we are looking for that they give us that blood, sweat, and tears estimate, sort of element of what they do. And so, very importantly, now, unfortunately, what happens for all of us, and we've got this on the screen at the moment, there will be sometimes we get an entry where the story is so moving and we all feel so heart-warmed with the whole thing that we actually mark a little higher. We've got to be careful that we actually score how they answered the question. So in other words, hard luck stories and bits and pieces, other than obviously business interruption because of weather or any other reason, please make sure that we keep a logical approach to all of this. And obviously, very importantly, they have got to provide us with information. There are many times where you can sit there and say, I know that business. I've been there, and they didn't say this, but I know they do it, and therefore give them a mark. We can't do that because that's not fair on the other entrants that have been asked to give us all the information. We have told everybody that no external hyperlinks. The only exception to the rule in the marketing section, if they have actually prepared and done a video for their business, that you are allowed to look at that. But the only other links that there may be, and we found out on Tuesday that some of those were not working, would be the image links themselves.
Have we lost Ron?
I think.
Ronnie is
So
Ronnie
while we're
is
just
still...
waiting for the slide to
go.
change, very importantly, again, Sarah mentioned confidentiality. If at any stage you find out that once you get into the entry that there could be a conflict, please let Sarah know immediately, right? This is very important because this is obviously for the credibility of not just obviously the awards, but the association and everything else like that. Now, I do know some of you. I know quite a few of you, and I'm quite sure that between us, we either work top down or bottom up. And I tend to work from the situation of bottom up rather than top down when I'm marking. But it doesn't matter how you do this, as long as at the end you can substantiate what the result was of what you gave. What you're all going to find, for those of you that have not judged in the current format, that in many cases the actual mark allowance is now small, and in some cases it's only 5 marks. So you've got to be a little bit careful that you don't end up by taking a full mark off from a 5-point question when it's only a minor issue, because immediately what's going to happen, that we're going to end up with this logjam at the end of almost all the entrants having more or less the same score, which is what we don't need. So if you have a read first of the first entry that you look at, be very conscious of the score allowance that you're allowed. In other words, 5, 10, 15, whatever it might be, and then work out how you can do all of that. Okay, now guys, feedback is absolutely essential. Right? The only time we ever get a complaint from anybody, or a whinge more than a complaint, is that they didn't understand how they could have been better than what they actually were. So, as I said, I think one of the main goals of the awards is to provide the entrants with the opportunity to improve their business to the betterment of everybody and the industry and the tourism industry in New South Wales and obviously Australia, finally. But very importantly, that if you feel there was something that should have been there and wasn't, you do need to flag that. And there's ways and means of saying it, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. But the feedback must be constructive. Please, at no stage do we tell people that your entry was bad, that you didn't. In other words, anything negative doesn't help the entrant in actually improving their particular entry. If I said to you that we have many, and some of you that I've seen that are actually now judges, have been past winners of the New South Wales Tourism Awards. Many of you didn't win on your first entry. Many of you won because you got feedback after your first entry, either through the draft review or the feedback after the actual award submission. And literally you looked at this and you constantly built improvement into your business, which was then obviously reflected in your entry, and making sure that this is the way that we're going to work. Now, very importantly, it can't be a summary of the response. Please don't just copy what they said. Make very sure that if, in other words, if the question says demonstrate your response, if you tell them you haven't demonstrated your response without explaining why they didn't, it doesn't help them at all. And this is very important, that at the end of this particular process, we're going to end up with consolidating the feedback. You heard Sarah talk about that we have a number of students who are going to assist you and in being able to do this. And what we want is a very constructive, positive reinforcement of how they could be better, how the entry could be improved, so that they come back next year and, most importantly, improve their business practice. So writing good, excellent is not a great feedback unless you gave them 5 out of 5. And even then, I would prefer that you didn't do that. So as you can see, if you looked at what we see on the left, and I'm not going to read all of these because really do go through these, is you didn't give them full marks. Why? And how could they have improved the entry is very important at this particular stage, right? You can see that, and this comes from experience, ladies and gentlemen. If you talk about it was comprehensive and you gave them 3 out of 5, that basically isn't comprehensive. So what didn't they do? And how could they have improved what they didn't do? Or either the way they said it, the way they presented it, and that is becoming less and less important now because of the portal. That in years gone by, very often we'd say to entrants, use a table, but the table is now actually embedded within the portal, so that is not going to be something that we're going to say. Very importantly, we're looking for quantification. We're certainly looking for outcomes, and if they can do all of that, we have told them, every entrant, that what they give us is confidential, and this is essential, very essential. So we've told them if they put financials in or any of their obviously business aspects that they would perceive as highly confidential, as far as business practice is concerned, it may be in the entrant, and really in the end, only the 3 of you are going to see that, and that's where it's going to stay. Now, very importantly, we've got, I know it's lunchtime, or just after lunch, we're looking for compliments. In other words, a really positive reinforcement. And you are the experts, and you've been chosen because of it. And we'd love you to be able to take on the coaching aspect of the entrant, whatever that might be. And you'll find there could be a vast disparity between your top entries and your bottom entries. But if you can provide them with the fuel for them to go and improve not only their entry, but their business practice, then literally we've achieved an enormous amount.
Ron, I think we might, we've only got a couple minutes left, and people might have questions, and we want to take the recording off for questions. So I think, unless you've got anything else, we might stop the recording and open it to questions, because we usually don't put that on. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. I'll just.
All right. So good. That makes the recording. Good job. Thank you.